Back in 1996, the Diva that we currently know today as the female performers in what was the former World Wrestling Federation, now World Wrestling Entertainment, was born. Okay, women's wrestling was there beforehand, but we didn't know them as divas. When Sunny came along, it all changed. The fabric of women's wrestling changed. And now, some 14, 16 years later, I'm asking the immortal question: is the Diva, the WWE Diva, about to go extinct? A very provocative question, you may ask right now. The fact is, it seems to be going that way. Because, as we know, Maxine, of course, left WWE in the past week or so, saying that she was frustrated by her lack of upward mobility being in the company for the past couple of years. And the fact is, apparently she's not the only one who is frustrated by a lack of mobility, because a lot of divas have left the company in the last couple of years, and to be honest with you, it's a downward spiral the women's division really didn't need. But to be honest, it shows a really worrying trend. I got this from NoDQ.com, a list of the divas who have left along with Maxine. And again, she did nothing. We can't really say she was worth any of WWE's wage-paying money. But these ones were Michelle McCool, Gail Kim, Maurice, both the Bella twins. And you think, people would sometimes say, okay, they're divas. They're not really worth our time. But to be honest with you, the ones that have left, and also I must also point out Kelly as well, because she's on a hiatus, you must honestly thinking right now, those are names who, to be honest, in the last 3 or 4 years have been synonymous with the Divas division. And with them leaving, along with the worrying trend that they're not even going on TV anymore, is a sign that they could be going, to be honest, the way of cruiserweights. The way of the cruiserweight division, where it just, in fact, even the tag team division, up until at least a month ago, where they could just vanish off the face of WWE television. Now, obviously you may be saying to me right now, Fred, you're being stupid, because the Divas are a profitable margin for the really horny douchebags who love to crack one off to the women, because that's basically, for some people, all they're there for. And to be honest, it allows them to pee when they go into a pay-per-view, knowing that's the only thing they're going to miss. You may be thinking, that's stupid, because also it's a merchandising ploy, that girls will buy whatever is associated with these people. But the fact is, take this into perspective. Okay, I haven't watched Raw a lot, but one thing I have noticed is that the only diva on Raw that really gets any attention is AJ, and for bloody good reason. She's in a major storyline. That's pretty damn important. The fact is, the only other diva I've really seen is the returning Eve Torres last week. The Divas champion, Beth Phoenix, who has been in the last couple of pay-per-views, has not been seen on Raw for the majority of the last couple of weeks. And in my opinion, hasn't been seen on WWE television for the best part of a couple of weeks. You may be thinking to yourself, is this a sign? Because honestly, I wish I could take more interest in the Divas. I think a lot of us would want to, knowing there are some decent talent out there. But then again, I have to refer to Alundra Blaze, who did say to Beth Phoenix that she feels sorry for her because that she hasn't got enough competition to fight against, at least in a decent competition. And the fact is, when you look at who's left, you kind of wonder, are there any who can actually pose a threat? Okay, sure, there's Natalya, there's Karma, but they're both not on television. One, because she's training, getting to get back into the ring after a miscarriage. The other one, having a shit gimmick means the public don't care and she's not on television. Simple. The others just simply are not good enough. Okay, you have Vicky Guerrero wrestling in the last couple of weeks, don't care. We have Caitlyn, who to be honest has not been used since she was in a tag team with, well, AJ. Looks like AJ is the Shawn Michaels of that Diva tag team. Right, folks? We've also got Alicia Fox, who has, for many reasons, got no usage on the product. Eve Torres is now basically an off-screen character, or, well, a non-wrestler, so to speak. Oksana is basically the exact same. Rosa Mendez, manager. You gotta think to yourself, based on those things, the Divas division is at a point now in WWE where it literally is on the brink of extinction. If we look at the ICU list for endangered animals, it would be practically not extinct in the wild, but critically endangered. It is at a point now where I feel, based on what I've seen, what I'm looking at here, people, that Divas just are not getting the time they need, and because of that, they're basically getting hunted down. They're leaving by the droves. I will also mention in that list as well, Melina left because of contractual disputes back in 2010. So you think, some big names have gone. They're not on TV much anymore. You've got to think to yourself, this could be the beginning of the end for the Divas. The women's division has never been well, it was popular in the early to mid-2000s. About 10-something years ago. But when you look at it now, it's where you think, we don't watch the matches. They don't bother making feuds for them. They don't bother putting them in any matches that relatively last some length. They're not even wrestlers to begin with half the time because they're brought from strip clubs and cheerleading things with sporting companies. You then put that into perspective with just how many don't give a shit and are leaving. Combined with that, it is worrying. It's alarming. The Diva, the female wrestler in the biggest company of its kind in the world, in this sport entertainment professional wrestling bubble, could go. It could burst, people. And it's worrying me, but at the same time, I wouldn't care because I only really give a shit about AJ. I think a lot of people will say that right now. But it's just amazing. It's just so alarming that, you know what? We could see the end of the WWE Diva as we know it in the next year or so if they're not put back on TV quickly. Because it's just sad, really, that women... we can look at TNA and say their women's division main events impacts. It gets the highest rating segments of the entire show. And then you look at the Divas in WWE and who have barely have anything done with them. And they get nothing. They're just... It's basically they're taken from captivity. They're taken from the wild and bred in captivity to do the same old shit where it's just not worth it. Where they will peter out and basically become extinct. Is it going to happen? We'll only have to wait and see. And to be honest, if it does happen, some will be disappointed. Some will be upset. Some will just not give a shit. But if my conclusions of this argument have come to be true in the future, then the fight for equality amongst the genders in wrestling, which, to be honest, I'm amazed they never bothered to leap on once China broke the glass ceiling. It's amazing really to think that one side of the gender could go back to being just managers and on-screen non-wrestlers, or it could just be gone completely. And if that happens, wrestling will finally go back, it'll regrettably go back to its old slogan of not just a male soap opera, not in terms of what goes on, but just a man's sport altogether. Because if women can't break into the WWE, the biggest company of its kind in its sector, and make something of themselves, then there may as well not be a point at all. Because if you work your ass off, going through the independents, proving you're a decent women's wrestler, and get there to the WWE and you can do nothing, you might be sitting on a fat paycheck, but you know that your career might as well be over if you can't become something in a business, in an industry, in a company which, to be honest, has the door wide open for someone to basically go in there and take the bull by its horns and put it somewhere. If you can't make a career out of a situation where there's barely anyone there, then there is no point. So I'm going to go back to the question again. Will the Divas division, will the Diva as we know it, become extinct in the future? All you got to do is comment down there. Put your own opinions into the argument, why don't you? I will see what you guys have to say about this. I've been Queen Crazy. You've been people watching. I'll see you Sunday for my next vid. See ya. Cheers.